What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new travel photography vlog. Here we are in a new location. Well, it's sort of new. We're in Letchworth State Park, which we've been to obviously countless times before, but we are in a certain part of the park that I've never been to. Well, I was here a couple days ago, but first time for the vlog. We're checking out Trail 19, Paper Mill Trail, and I owe a big thank you to a local photographer by the name of John Ramsey for giving me the recommendation to come check this spot out. He's very well versed in this park and all of the amazing things it has to offer, and he's been kind enough to share with me some of his knowledge and told me to check out this unique little area. It's got some cool waterfalls, some great woodland scenes, especially now that we're in the fall. I would say about peak fall foliage here in western New York, and this place does not disappoint. I was here, like I said, a couple days ago, and I got some nice photos, but I wanted to come back and revisit it, of course, while we still have the nice colors, and use a polarizer this time around, because a couple photos I got of the falls just over that way I do like, but I didn't put a polarizer on because I didn't feel like changing lenses, so I got a little lazy, admittedly. But I think a polarizer could definitely bring out, you know, the details in the bottom of the creek bed. I think I got a little too much reflection on the one photo. I'll put that up on the screen right now, and hopefully we can do it a little bit better. And the lighting is a little bit different right now since I'm here earlier in the day, so I'm excited to see what it's going to look like. There was a nice little bundle of leaves kind of caught up in a little current, so hopefully those are still there. A lot of leaves have been dropping, so hopefully we'll get lucky with that. If not, we'll try to make something work regardless. And we also have another waterfall that's right here. It's called Waterline Falls, and it's completely dried up, about 99%. There's just a little tiny trickle coming down it, so we'll have to revisit the spot after some snow melt or some, a couple weeks of heavy rain. And then there's even another waterfall down the creek that way, which we'll have to take the trail to see. Not sure the name of that one, but it's a really nice looking waterfall, pretty tall. And I believe there's a way to get down to the base of it. I haven't seen how to get down there yet, but there is a nice view from up on top of the trail, which I might revisit now here that it's not near nighttime or dark, which is what it was when I checked out the first time, so we should have a little bit better lighting. So we're gonna make our way down to the waterfall over there and try to set up. I've already got my lens on that can use the polarizer, so we should be all ready to go. Okay, so we are still lucky to have the leaves caught in the current down there like we did a couple days ago, so that's good. Excited about that. We can kind of faithfully redo this shot now. But as you can see, it's kind of a multi-step thing. There's a spot that we can go to up there, kind of flattens out, drops down again, so there's even a photo opportunity down here. And then it goes down even further, where you can go towards like where the base of the falls is and kind of shoot it all the way up, which is what I did when I was here a couple days ago. So I'm just gonna set up, put my polarizer on, and take a few photos and see what it looks like. I thought I did just see the sun kind of peeking through the clouds and the trees a little bit, so maybe we'll get lucky with that. Alright, so here we are back at that photo that I was talking to you guys about earlier. The polarizer is doing a great job, as I hoped it would. There is a lot more light in the sky as opposed to last time I was here, so there is a lot more reflection, but it's still doing a really good job at cutting it all down so we can see the leaves very clear and defined. Another thing I'm kind of messing around with right now is how cropped in I am. So in a moment I'll cut over to video from this camera so you guys can see exactly what the composition looks like. Yeah, before we talk about the composition, I do want to apologize first and foremost for the poor audio. I know you guys can barely hear me with that waterfall about 2 feet behind me, and that's because I was using a shotgun mic to record this vlog instead of a lavalier mic setup. Hopefully I'll be able to get my hand on one of those setups very soon, so we can get much cleaner and clearer audio for these types of videos in the future. Kind of raise the production value a little bit. But anyways, back to the matter at hand. Let's talk about the composition. So these two photos here, the photo on the left is the one we took a couple days ago, and the photo on the right is the one we took today. So let's talk about the one on the left first. You can see the water is unpolarized, so we have a lot less detail. There's a lot more glare, a lot more reflection, and I think that is not working so great for this image. It definitely, I think, polarized would have been a lot better. Does it being unpolarized ruin it? No, of course not. And then we also have the fact that it's much wider than the photo we took today, which I think is kind of decent, considering the fact that if you look at the very top part of the waterfall here and the way it kind of cascades down, it creates a nice little diagonal, I think, to the frame. But I also feel like when compared to the image on the right, it's not necessary for the photo and the story that we're trying to tell. I think it maybe makes it a little too distracting, like our eyes kind of drawn up there through that diagonal leading line, maybe going from right to left as opposed from left to right. And obviously it's different depending on who you show the photo to. Obviously personal preference will play a big role in which photo you like more, but I prefer the one on the right a lot more. Obviously A, because it's polarized, but we get a much more sort of like close up and detailed look at the scene. We still have a nice diagonal of this rock face here, and we still have the whirlpool and the soft water, which of course is created by a very low ISO 31 photo at f22 to create a in-camera long exposure. That's how I was able to do long exposures for pretty much both of these shots, is cranking up the aperture and going down to as low ISO as I possibly could, because I did not want to put an ND filter on. We just need a couple of seconds with how fast this water is moving. Really nice sort of technique to know if you're ever out in the field and you want to get streaky water, but it's the middle of the day like both of these shots were taken in. You can definitely still achieve it. You just have to know how to work your camera. You definitely don't need an ND filter by any means to do that. So those are the compositions, the things I think both have going for them. I personally, again, like the one we took today a little bit better, but let's go ahead and hop back into the vlog. Okay, so I've actually just moved over to the right a little bit because the sun is actually starting to peek through the trees right here. All right, so I'm going to explain really quickly what I ended up doing here to get this next photo. And again, we're back with a voiceover because you cannot hear a single word I'm saying. But yeah, the sun ended up peeking through the trees just above this waterfall here. And I literally just noticed it with my eyes. I was walking from the spot I was standing in to get the photo we just looked at back towards the bottom because I was going to get, you know, a very, very wide shot of the falls, and the sun just caught my eye. I could see it peering through the trees, so I figured this would be a perfect time to set up. So what I ended up doing was taking an F10 focus stack of sort of this bottom pool here, and the top part, I might not need the bottom part, just want to have it just in case so I can get a very tack sharp image throughout. And I ended up going up to f16 to accentuate that starburst coming through the trees so we can blend that in with our f10 image a little bit later on. That way the entire image isn't soft because it's going to be a little softer at f16. So that's how we ended up getting this photo right here. Of course, this is just straight out of camera. We'll look at the edited photos towards the end. But yeah, that's kind of how we achieved that look there with that nice little starburst peeking through the trees. After our little starburst extravaganza, I decided I'd make my way down to the bottom or the base of the entire waterfall just to shoot some more video so you guys could see what the composition looked like and also give a real-time example of polarization versus non-polarization. So the video here is not polarized, and in a few seconds it's going to switch back to polarized very slowly, and you're going to see how much detail is going to jump out of these rocks that were covered moments ago by reflection. So let's take a look at the actual photo here, not in 16:9 crop anymore. And as you can see, that soft water, and again, this was another like forced long exposure, which I may not actually need for this particular shot, just because at f10, I was able to drag the shutter just enough when combined with the polarizer, which is already going to give you an additional stop of light, so it's going to make the photo a little bit darker, so the shutter has to drag a little bit longer to compensate just from the polarizer alone. And again, with the water moving as fast as it was enough to create some smooth water. Not super smooth, which is nice because we still have some nice texture and detail in there. And I think it makes some really nice lines that lead your eye all the way up through the photo from sort of the bottom right up into the top left. And we have the nice leaf litter scattered about to really kind of show you what time of year this photo was taken, on top of some of the nice yellows in the trees that we have up above as well. So really like this photo, and let's move on and get back in the field. Okay, so I think we're gonna wrap it up here at the Silver Lake Outlet Falls. I've been trying to look for what I would call compositions within a composition, or I guess a more simplified way would be saying like a photo within a photo, because obviously we have this really wide waterfall, right? It's pretty big. Same thing with the one down there. You could take it really wide, get the whole vista in there, which I've done in a couple of spots, but I'm just trying to have a very keen eye and looking for small compositions in the big one. And I'll put up on screen here a photo I took of this small little waterfall here. I really like it because, you know, it's got a lot of nice textures in the rock, the way it's layered and it kind of cascades down, but also because there's a lot of fallen leaves that have kind of stuck to that rock layer there that looks really, really nice. So I'll put that picture up on the screen right now. Did a focus stack at f10 just because how close we are to the ground. Polarizer set to 100%, and I think it'll look pretty good. Of course, I haven't seen it on a monitor yet. That's one thing I've always noticed, is that I'll like a photo off the back of the camera, and then once I look at it on the monitor, it's a different story. I'm not really sure what causes that. Maybe the compressed version of itself makes it look a little cleaner, a little less cluttered, but we'll see. That's just one thing I'm trying to keep my eye out for today, is sort of compositions within a composition, right? Because here at Letchworth, you have the big vistas that everybody knows, archery, the three falls, etc., etc. But there are so many things layered within this park that you can take that'll kind of give you a unique portfolio of images compared to other people that just shoot the hero shots. And not that there's nothing wrong with those. I quite enjoy those shots a lot, just because they're really easy to take. But sometimes to really set yourself apart, you got to look for the hidden things, right? The things that are kind of, they're hidden in plain sight, I guess. Like, one thing I'm kind of noticing right now is this set of rocks here, and they do create a nice diagonal, and of course we do have some leaves. They're kind of like props in the photo, I guess. And there's another photo I got here on Friday that's down back towards we came down here. I haven't edited that one yet. I might reshoot it, but it looks kind of nice, and I'll put that photo up on the screen there too. Not something I would normally shoot, but I'm quite fond of it, which is good because I'm trying to get better at taking photos that I normally wouldn't shoot, right? The big sunrise, sunset vistas, big wide-angle hero shots, because I do like those, but I don't want that to be my entire portfolio. So this is also kind of a growing experiment, a learning experiment to get better at things that I'm not certainly that great at. Down the trail a little ways, and as we get away from more water features and we get more into like the denser woods, I'm going to switch lenses to put the 24-200 on to try to get some detail shots, especially out over the this little ledge here. Have some nice sycamore trees, and I think they work great for photos like this because the bark very easily stands out against the background. Kind of helps the photo from looking a little messy, which can be a problem with some woodland photos that don't work, as they just look too messy. And in my opinion, I think those really nice trees out there, those sycamores, do a good job at kind of helping to make the photos look a little bit messy. So we're taking the 24-70 off. We don't need the polarizer anymore, and we're going to put the 24-200 on, try to get some detail shots and see what those look like. Alright, so we've wrapped up at Trail 19. I think it was quite a success. As we reached like the end of the trail roughly, started to get some really nice light coming through the trees, so hopefully I got some good things. I'd be lucky if I got one good shot there when we were in the woods. But now we are driving to the southern end of the park. more specifically towards Middle Falls, as there's a shot there that I want to redo. So we're gonna go try and get that shot if we can. Hopefully it's not too crowded. Although it's a really nice day, it's a Sunday, fall colors look nice, so wouldn't be shocked if there's a lot of people walking through that area. But if we just have enough time where we can do a little focus stack, a couple brackets, we should be good. So we'll update you guys when we get there. As we made our way south on the main park road, I quickly stopped at the tea table overlook because the lighting was looking insane. So I hopped out the truck really quick and grabbed a couple of photos. I'll put those up on the screen right now, unedited versions, and we continue on our journey towards the Middle Falls. Alright, so now that we're set up and I've got a composition that I'm happy with, we're going to do a focus stack here for the stairs. And the only thing we're going to wait for now is obviously the colors in the sky to get a little bit better as the sun goes down. And we're also going to wait for that lamp there to turn on as well. I'm not sure how long that'll be, but it shouldn't be too long. I think it's definitely going to add nicely. So now it's just a waiting game. Alright, so the lantern has finally come on. It is 6:25. The sun has set about 6 minutes ago, and the lighting looks incredible. The water almost has a magenta glow to it, and the fall colors are phenomenal. And it's a pretty amazing experience, as I've never really seen Letchworth like this. In all the years I've been photographing, this is my first year actually getting to see the fall pretty much all the way through, and see this place at peak colors and get to take photos. And this is a moment I won't forget for a long time. Just surreal, and that lantern being on, I think, completes the shot. So I'm going to take a few more brackets as the clouds there continue to change colors, and maybe do some detail shots. So really quickly, here is that unedited bracket of one of the last brackets I think I took before we ended up heading out of the park for the night. 7-step bracket, just to make sure I didn't blow out the light in the lamp or none of the highlights in the sky there. So can't wait to put these images together. Welcome back to the studio, everybody. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at all the images we got from this outing, and I gotta say I'm happy with a good chunk of them. There are still a few at this point that I'm recording this that I have not got around to editing to. There's just quite a lot, and I'm still going through and deciding on which ones I like still. That's going to take a long time to do, so I didn't want to delay the finishing of this video any longer, and I figured since I got the shots that I like the most fully done and edited, I figured it'd be a good time to film this particular segment of the video. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first photo. So here is that first image. I showed you guys earlier in the video the landscape orientation shots of this, specific area, this composition, I guess, where we had the Silver Lake Outlet Falls, at least the sort of bottom port, I guess middle portion be the more correct word to use to describe it, and we have this leaf whirlpool. I did do a landscape orientation, and I haven't edited that one yet, only because I think I actually prefer the portrait orientation. Just because I feel like it's a perfect balance of both the leaf whirlpool and the waterfall. I feel like some other versions, like the landscape version, that the leaf whirlpool kind of gets a little overshadowed by the waterfall and how much presence it takes up in the actual photo. That might just be me, but I do really, really like this orientation, this composition, just a little bit better. And the polarizer ended up putting a lot of work in, because you can see down here at the very bottom, there's this leaf that is submerged that we can see in very, very good detail here because of that polarizer. So I like it very much for that. And I think, again, it just works a little bit better as a vertical image as opposed to horizontal. So yeah, like it quite a bit. I did do a little tiny perspective sort of blend with this shot. I made the leaf whirlpool just a little bit bigger in the frame, just so it takes up the bottom half of the frame just a little bit more. And it isn't anything super, super crazy in terms of editing, but I think it does a really nice job at balancing the photo a bit more, in my opinion. Did it really need that? Of course not. Did I have to do that? No. Did I want to? Yeah. And I think, as far as like artistic license is concerned, very tasteful, done very subtly, and I think it works very, very well. So that's it for this image. Let's take a look at the next one. Okay, so here is the next photo we're going to take a look at. This one wasn't actually taken on the same day as this vlog was recorded. It was taken 2 days prior on my first visit to this area. And I wanted to include it though because it was one of the shots that I got that day that I really, really liked just because of how unique it is. And there's an interesting thing about this photo that I noticed that I'll point out in just a minute. But I mean, the composition is pretty straightforward. This sort of little stream here does create a somewhat nice diagonal, at least the edges do, which is lined with some nice leaf litter. And then down at the end, you have the really nice fall colors, those bright yellows, kind of getting hit with some softer light. It was an overcast day when I shot this, so it does make everything look a little bit softer. And then on the right side here, we have this tree, which kind of hangs over this little stream, and the root system up against the wall there looks really, really nice, and you can see it reflect into the water below it. And then if I zoom in here, you have a little bit of this foam here that kind of streaked a little bit in the frame because I don't think it was a super fast shutter speed. So they kind of dragged and left these nice little trails, which I think kind of act as like, nice little leading lines to kind of draw your eye up into the frame there. But one thing I am noticing is that this side of the frame here, where I'm, highlighting here with my cursor, everything to the right of that could have also been a photo of its own. Just this tree and its root system reflecting in the water, that could have also just been a photo as well. And I'll have to go back and look to see if I got a photo of this. I know I took one where the camera was pointing more to the right of the shot, and this root system is taking up on the left side of the frame. So maybe I could just crop that and get that composition there. Might be worth the loss of resolution just to get that really nice composition, because as I'm looking at this, I just like it more and more. But I still like the wide shot as well quite a bit. And yeah, I don't have any titles for any of these. I forgot to mention that earlier. I'm sure I'll come up with some titles before I post them on socials and eventually put them onto my website for everybody to check out. But yeah, so this is that photo. I like it quite a bit. And let's take a look at another one. And here is one of the last photos that I've edited from this Silver Lake Outlet Falls area on Trail 19 in Letchworth. This was taken at that moment during the vlog where the sun finally started to peer through those distant trees really, really nicely, and I was able to capture a very nice f16 starburst that I was then able to blend in with, I think it was an f10 or f11 photo. And I'll put all of the settings that I used to take this photo up on the screen. I'll do that for all of them. And yeah, very, very simple edit. The only thing I ended up doing was, again, just, brushing in that f16 starburst and left the rest of the photo as the original f10 or f11 shot, just to make it so it wasn't as soft, because when you start to push that f-stop up, you introduce more diffraction, and the image as a whole, the quality starts to suffer. Things start to get a little bit softer, etc., etc. So I wanted to keep the majority of the photo as sharp as I possibly could. But I think the photo is kind of separated really, really well into thirds. We have the bottom third here, which is this little pool. The middle third, which is comprised of the actual falls itself and this abandoned bridge, or is what I presume used to be a bridge at some point. And then everything above that, the canopy and the sky, which also has, now that I'm kind of noticing it, a nice diagonal here that you can follow with my cursor that almost kind of mimics this diagonal here. Now, this rock here in the bottom left, I was going to actually remove in post, but I kind of like it. I think it does anchor the foreground a little bit more instead of making it just generic water texture. We also got lucky to have this leaf here, and of course the leaf whirlpool is still hanging out there. I wish I could have done a longer exposure, or at least remember to do a longer exposure to kind of maybe blend in this bottom part here and make it look a little bit softer and maybe get that long exposure look with the leaves again. But I didn't think to do it at that point. So it is what it is. Does the image suffer as a whole because I didn't do that? No. I think having some of those details still there in this pool actually look quite nice. And because of that, not having to go up to F22, we don't have to worry about blending in any F22 areas, making things less sharp, et cetera, et cetera. It makes the edit also just a lot easier. And yeah, so that's the last photo again that I have edited from this area. Now we're going to move down towards, and we started making our way towards Middle Falls, but we did stop at the tea table. So I want to show you guys those photos next. Oh, and I almost forgot really quickly before we go to the tea table, here is a photo that I got the first time I visited this area of these falls here. It's from the same Silver Lake outlet, and it cascades down again on its way to meet the Genesee. And this is just a little trail off the main trail. I don't know the name of this falls exactly, but I did a focus stack here, like a hyper focus stack, because this tree here, I use the Photoshop stack auto stack feature to get in focus alongside all of this stuff here in the foreground, just to make it a very in focus, sharp photo. And this was taken later in the evening, long after the sun had set. It wasn't completely dark, but that's why things still look a little blue. The white balance is a little colder. But there was a lot of nice color here. This Japanese knotweed, invasive as it is, did have some nice color to it, especially in the surrounding areas. Like over here, you had some nice colors, and all up in this area, you have some nice colors in the waterfall going through it. This photo I don't like that much, just because there wasn't that much water coming down this particular chute. Had there been more water flowing over it, I think this photo would have been a lot better, because there would just been a lot more focus and a lot more interest on that right third of the photo, where instead we only have this very tiny amount of water going over this sort of fall here. So it is what it is. I just figured I'd show it really quickly before we move on. So yeah, moving on to the photos we took near the tea table overlook. And this is one of those photos. I took this actually while I was walking to the tea table overlook. Just looking down this winding road really caught my eye, and the lighting that we were getting. This is sort of like the tail end of the really good light that was coming through. The sun was starting to set behind the gorge walls in the distance, and there were some clouds kind of moving over it. So the light was definitely fading really quickly. So this is one of those photos that I had to act really fast to get, especially with these light rays that we have over here crossing the road, and this really prominent one here in this bottom part of the photo. I really wanted to capture that, and I only got a couple frames off where, again, like all that good lighting started to kind of disappear because the sun was starting to go lower and lower. Things were happening very quick, but we had some amazing colors, and I just really like the composition. I wanted to get a shot like this here for a while, a nice shot in the fall of a road kind of winding through the photo, and I'm really happy with this one because the colors look great, the road looks great, the lighting's great. The only thing that isn't great per se is this really bright spot we have up here. That's like borderline blown out. It is a little distracting. Maybe I could have shot this in landscape orientation. I think maybe that would have served this photo a little bit better. But it is what it is. We'll have to take it for now, I suppose, because I can't go back and reshoot this exact same thing. Especially as time goes on, more and more leaves start to fall, and we start to lose those really nice colors. So maybe something to keep in mind for next year. Now, just off to the left of this photo is where I ended up taking the next shot we're going to take a look at, and that is from the tea table overlook, and ended up grabbing this. And I gotta say, this is probably my second favorite shot I ended up getting on this particular outing. And I mean, it's probably pretty easy to see why. This vantage point is really incredible. The river does make a very nice leading line here in the bottom part of the frame. And then you can just kind of see how the way the gorge walls are positioned, that the river meanders through this particular area. And on top of that, you have the amazing fall colors, the beautiful clouds, the amazing light of sunset happening here, and this light ray especially coming through and highlighting all these trees up here. Just a lot going for this photo. Honestly, it's really hard to get a bad shot from this particular overlook. It's so nice. One of the better overlooks here at Letchworth. And I think it tends to get a little overlooked, if I'm being honest. in comparison to the archery field overlook. I do like that one quite a bit, but this overlook is really, really, really nice. And I did actually have a photo, the same composition roughly, when the sun was just a tad higher in the sky and we were getting a starburst. But because of the nature of the photo, we were only getting half of the starburst, unlike the last shot we looked at, one of the last shots from the Silver Lake Outlet Falls, where the sun is completely surrounded by stuff, so the starburst sticks out a lot better. Here we were only getting half of it, and I thought it looked rather distracting and was just kind of taking away from this beautiful gorge viewpoint. So I decided to go with the photos from just a few minutes later when the sun was pretty much fully behind this tree line here where the starburst started going away. And again, I think I prefer this to the starburst. So overall, though, I'm very, very happy and proud of this photo and how it turned out, especially considering that this is only the second time that I've photographed this area. The first time I ever photographed it was actually when I first got back into photography after taking a few years a break from it, really. And I took that in December of 2022, and I'll show you guys what that photo looked like. The compositions are probably honestly really, really close, in terms of similarity. But you can just see how much a difference a few months makes. I mean, this was taken in, mid to late October, and the other one was taken in late December. So you can just see, again, how big of a difference the seasons play and how this particular overlook will look. So, yeah, I wanted to show that as well. I think I definitely prefer this one a lot more. But let's go ahead and move on to the last photo I ended up getting. One of the last photos I ended up getting on our trip here, and it's definitely my favorite by far. And here it is, what is probably my favorite photo that I got on this entire trip, and I'm sure it's pretty easy to see why. Not only do the fall colors from this particular vantage point around Middle Falls look incredible, but the clouds overhead are just absolutely magnificent. The colors they were picking up were just unbelievable, and it has a nice gradient here. We have these really brilliant oranges that fade to these nice pinks, and when you pair it with the blue, it almost gives it a kind of cotton candy look, which I kind of like, actually. And these colors in this particular band of clouds, I was able to actually capture still a few minutes later when they started to change from more orange to more reddish pink. I was going to go with that just because they were getting crazier, right? But I figured it might match the overall look of the photo a bit better if they were more orange, because I think that, again, that matches with the fall colors a little bit better as opposed to it being pink, especially since we're able to still get some of those pinks here in the top of the frame as you get further and further away from the sun. Not only do we have the amazing colors everywhere, but we have this perfect leading line that this stone pathway creates. And I showed you guys earlier during the vlog a similar photo that I took from this vantage point called Twilight Trail. And I wanted to redo that one mainly because that photo I did a sky replacement for, because when I shot that, I think it was just, a slate blue sky. And I had really hoped for there to be some nice clouds, but ended up doing a sky replacement. So ever since then, I've been wanting to chase this particular composition and actually have a nice sky already in frame. That way you kind of have like the real deal, right? The real McCoy. So this is finally the culmination of that coming together. And not only do we have a nice sky, but again, we're here in the fall, arguably one of the most picturesque times to be here. Of course, coming here at any point in the year, you'll get great photos. But I mean, the fall, it's really one of the highlights of the year in this park. And couldn't have honestly asked for better conditions. I did do a lot of color separation in this photo because just from the colors reflecting off the clouds, the colors reflecting off the trees, getting picked up in the mist, we really had a super strong magenta color cast coming through. And that honestly just kind of killed a lot of the separation and a lot of the nice features this photo had to offer. The staircase looks super red. The water looks super red. The sky looks super red, right? The rock wall, everything was just super, super magenta. So I did a lot of selective masking and brushing out some of that magenta color cast out of the white water here, out of the walkway, just to make those things kind of pop out a little bit more instead of them kind of getting lost and muddied in a really strong magenta color cast. And it did look like that in real life, but I think on a photo in 2D, it kind of comes off as a little too strong and just like, not working so well. So I want to do a little bit of selective hue saturation layers to kind of clean that up. And I think the end result is not only very, very faithful to what I saw in real life, but I think it just does the overall scene that I saw justice. So very, very happy with this photo. Definitely a portfolio level shot in my opinion, and super, super proud of it. And it will be up on my website to either just view or, if you'd like, purchase as a print. But you can see it blown up on a big monitor. I think that's definitely the better way to look at photos than just on a phone screen. Get to see them, bigger resolution always ends up looking nicer. So if you want to see them all blown up in a bit bigger view, definitely check out my website, link below. Just got a brand new website, reworked website through SmugMug. Very, very happy with it. I think it does a much better job for me than my old platform did. So definitely check that out. And yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap it up. If you guys would like to see an in-depth editing tutorial on how I edited any of these photos from this particular vlog, please feel free to drop a comment and let me know below, and I will make a video like a little before and after edit tutorial on how I edited any one of these photos, walk through it step by step. So yeah, that's going to do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate all the support, and we'll see you next time.